Okay, so back in December when Google announced the first iteration of the Gemini 2.0 models, one of the things that they also announced along with that was Project Mariner. And the idea here is that this is using Gemini for browser use. So in the past, I've looked at the Anthropic browser use that they launched and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Project Mariner is still in testing, and testers are not allowed to talk about what's actually in it yet until it actually gets a proper release. So unfortunately, we can't look at Project Mariner. But what I thought would be cool was to look at how open source stuff can be combined with the new Gemini models that are trained specifically for this kind of use. So one of the cool things about the Gemini 2.0 Flash, which has now gone GA or generally accessible, is that it is extremely quick. It's very good at multimodal stuff, and it's really ideal for this browser use activity. So the project that I'm talking about comes from a startup called Browser Use. And you'll notice they're actually scoring higher on the Web Voyager benchmark, which is like a browser use benchmark, than what Project Mariner announced back in December. So the cool thing is not only have they announced a product that you can actually use as a SaaS and stuff like that, they've also released the open source version of what they're doing. So they've got their docs in here. And the particular repo that I want to look at is this Web UI one. So the idea here is that they talk about that this builds on the foundations of browser use. And because they've open sourced it, it looks like other people have contributed to it and helped it to basically support a wide variety of models, including the Google Gemini models, being both Flash model, even the Flash thinking they support. Now, really the Flash 2.0 model is the key one to use here just because it's so quick to do this. You don't really want the LLM taking ages to actually go through the session and be able to respond. Even with a fast model, this can still be a reasonably slow process to go through this. All right, so they've got extensive instructions in here of how to set this up. I found it pretty easy to use. Basically, you just clone it, make sure that you've got UV installed. That will take care of most of things. I had to reinstall Playwright a couple of times to get it working with their environment. Of course, you can also run this in a Docker instance and try that out. And of course, I would preface this that you want to be quite careful about how you use this and how you set this up. More and more for these kind of things, I'm looking at like, how do I basically set this up on an older computer or a computer that I'm not using that much anymore to run these automations? Because you don't need a GPU for this. We're basically calling the cloud. We're using external models, etc. Okay, so when I went to use this, I actually realized, and I'm not actually sure why, they haven't updated this to the latest models. So if you come in here to source utils, and in utils in here, you'll actually see what models they're actually supporting. So we want to use the latest Gemini models from AI Studio. So we're going to need to change some of this a little bit. So this is the Flash Experimental, which has now been updated to GA. So it's just Flash. There's no experimental. And also they're missing the Flash 2.0 Pro, and I definitely want to try that. So this is very simple to change. You basically just come in here, change the definitions. So I've put in like the Flash there. I've added in the Flash 2.0 Pro experimental that's in there as well. We could even add in the vertex models. If you wanted to do something like this, where we're actually going to be hitting the API quite a lot, probably better to use vertex. And one of the cool things that I didn't realize about this until I started coming in here and looking at the code is that all the API calls and stuff like that, they're just using LangChain and the LangChain packages in here. So it would be pretty easy for you to add in the LangChain Vertex package or any other provider that you would like to try out. And you can basically just add in that and add in a definition for how to use that model. You can see that like for the Mistral models, they've got the chat Mistral that they're passing in here as well. And one of the cool things that they've got in here as well is you can actually use the Olama models. So you could actually just set up an Olama model yourself if you wanted to use a newer Llama model as it comes out or something like that. Or, for example, they've got the DeepSeek R114B here. If you did have the sort of grunt to run it, you could run the 70B one and just add that in here as well. So I didn't realize that they were using LangChain until I actually came in here to update the models, stuff like that. But it's a very simple kind of thing that you can update to use this yourself. All right, let's jump in and have a play with it. Okay, so when you start up the app, you basically just want to run Python Web UI, then open this in a browser, basically just localhost at port 7788, and you'll be given this UI here. Now, the first thing you want to do is configure your LLM. I'm going to be using the Google ones, and you can see now, because I changed the code, I've actually got the Flash one, I've got the Flash 2.0 Pro, etc. in here. Let's start off with the 2.0 Flash. I've gotten my key from AI Studio and basically put this in here. So just go to AI Studio, get key, copy the key, paste it in here. And then you want to set up the browser settings. So the browser settings is, I'm definitely not using my own browser. I'm going to let it use the Chromium browser that Playwright uses by default. I want to keep the browser open because I actually want to be able to see what's going on and stuff like that. These settings are all probably fine. The one that you may want to decide on is like disable security and stuff like that. Because it's using the Chromium, I'm not too worried about that. And I do want to enable recording in here. Okay, I now come to the actual agent part in here. Okay, I'm asking it a question that I've asked agents for probably about 18 months. If you look back at some of my really early ones, pretty simple task. Go to Amazon and find the price of this UB key. And I've actually given it the specific UB key that I want, and it's going to get the price for us in here. Now, one of the things I've found playing around with this is that often you want to sort of add some sort of guiding thoughts to it or something like that. So down in the additional information here, this one, I'm basically just giving it some instructions. Think carefully and plan out your actions, checking that you've gotten each action right before moving to the next. All right, if we click this off, sure enough, it is going to use this browser. So you can see that it's Googling what we want. You can see this is the Chromium one. I'm not logged in or anything like that. It's finding this now. It hasn't gotten the concept of going to Amazon in here. Oh, okay, it has. I take that back. Okay, it's found one, but it's actually found the wrong one. This is not the USB-C one. So let's see if it's going to work that out. If we come back in here just for a sec and look, you can see I put the 5C in there. So at this point, the question is, all right, is it going to work out that if it clicks here, it can get that information? Okay, so it looks like that it's stopped. If we come over to the results, sure enough, there's now a video there of it getting it. It's taken this price though, and this is actually not the right thing. You can see the price is, so it's done the task. It's actually done in some ways the sort of hard part of going to the website and stuff like that, but it clearly hasn't worked out that this is not the right one. Okay, so I've added to the prompt a little bit here. And now if we run it, let's see if just trying to guide it more to exactly the model that we want. The issue there that was deliberately trying to make it a challenging task in there. Okay, so you can see that it just took down the pop-up in here. It's on Amazon. Let's see, is it going to work out? Okay, it's working out the 5C. All right, it's done a search. And sure enough, the first result is, but there are actually 3 5Cs. So I'll give it correct if it can get any of the 3 5Cs. Let's see. Really, it should be going for the first one though. Okay, so it's stopped. And if we go to the results, it looks like it's worked. It's worked out that, okay, this is $99. Sure enough, I'll just put this off on the side. We'll come back. We can see this is $99. So it didn't actually go to the product page this time. It just went to the search page and then extracted the information off that. But we can see that, okay, it's done a pretty good job there. We can also see here the steps that it went through, and we can see that, okay, it's decided to go to Amazon, navigate to Amazon, close the pop-up regarding delivery location. So that's pretty cool that it's worked out how to be able to do that and stuff like that. All right, you can actually run a few other things with this software. You can also run a thing called Deep Research. They have their own version of Deep Research in here where you can get it to go and make a report back My guess is that's just you doing the prompts. I'm not sure that the best way to do that necessarily is with a browser. I feel like actually scraping and doing things like that could be better so that you can revisit information and you can drag across information rather than just going one web page at a time kind of thing. But this has definitely gotten a result for the Amazon. Admittedly, on the second try, when I basically refined the prompt and stuff, but this is the kind of example where you would actually have a prompt expander or a prompt rewriter to get the prompt to really clarify what's actually going on here. Overall, this is pretty impressive. I got to say, in some ways, it's better than the Anthropic one. Unfortunately, at the moment on the AI Studio version, the Pro model just doesn't have enough calls per minute. And so I think it's limited at the moment to 2 calls per minute. And this thing tends to hammer it pretty quickly. So you just end up getting a lot of 429 errors in there. So maybe if we converted this to Vertex, we could probably get it going with Vertex in here. Anyway, the thing I would love to hear from everyone is what's the sort of standard use case that you would want to use something like this? The challenge is controlling what it's going to do. I certainly probably wouldn't want to give it my credit card at this moment, but I guess if it came back with this, and maybe we should have asked it to get the link out as well to this, it certainly found what I wanted in here. So I do think the open versions of things like Project Mariner, OpenAI's Operator, etc., are coming. And in many ways, they may actually be better because you can control everything locally, except maybe you're just going to be using a good model out for the moment. One of the cool things in here is we could actually hook up an Llama model. You can see they've got a couple of different models in there, including the DeepSeek R132. Now, this model actually would make kind of sense to use this. The challenge is it's going to be running quite slowly to actually get this to work. And I think also, I'm not sure if you will actually be able to use the vision mode in there. So overall, I think this browser use web UI thing is definitely an interesting package. I'm going to play with it. I might actually rewrite some parts of it to do different things that are more specific to what I specifically want it to do. You could imagine that you have like a prompt that spins it up in the morning to basically just show you all your favorite websites and look at the news very quickly or something like that. Okay, so just to sort of run that idea of having it come in here and go and get some news each morning, I'm basically asking it here to go to VentureBeat, open up all the articles in the last 3 days where the title is something related to AI. So if we kick this off, we've got our browser coming up. Let's see what we're going to get for this as it goes through. Now, I've asked it to basically open each one in a tab. Okay, so we can see that it's managed to come to the main site, no problems. Now, it doesn't have the dates on these, so I guess it's going to basically have to sort of work this out. Let me scroll down. Oh, okay, there are dates down here, so we can see the dates here. Okay, sure enough, it's gone to AI News. As we go along, it's basically opening up more tabs. So this is the AI News section in general. This is Don't Sleep on Google's Gemini Deep Research. Here we've got another article about AI. And if we go in and actually have a look at the sort of results out for this, it's interesting just to see what it's done. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that's come out here. It's run into some errors. And I think this is like one of the common things that you're going to see is just how well does the agent actually deal with the errors and think how to get around them. So I would consider this one a sort of moderate success, not hugely successful, but sure enough, it did open up a number of articles about AI stuff that are the sort of top articles on the main site. And we've got a few of these, we've got this going on in there. Maybe again, this is where giving it a better prompt would actually make it better for this kind of thing. Anyway, I'd love to hear the use cases of where you would use this. I can think of some being where people are doing automated ticket buying, automated reservations, this kind of thing. I do wonder if those things would probably lend themselves more to a agent that was reasonably custom made for that so that it wouldn't run into errors. I'd be pretty reluctant at the moment to give this thing my credit card and let it run wild. But let me know what you think. Certainly, the models are now getting to the point where they're good enough to do a lot of these things. And clearly, OpenAI is touting their O3 model at being very good at this kind of thing. And maybe they're starting to realize that there's more money to be made in not releasing the API as the model, but just keeping those services. And I do wonder, is this something we're going to see in the future where more of the big providers realize that actually the money is not in the model and the API, the money is in the actual service that you're going to do this. Anyway, as always, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you found the video useful, please click like and subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.